Hello everyone and welcome to the March 2022 review of Polestar numbers. My name is Sean and we review the numbers every month that are real world trips collected via the polestardriver.com website. So let's take a look at what we have in March. So in March we had a bumper number of trip submissions, and this is partly due to the submissions that we received from a number of you directly from the journey log rather than populating the form on the website. For those of you who are not aware of how to submit your trips using the journey log, if you visit the website, simply click on journey log uploads, and here are the instructions to submit your first journey log trip. Once you've submitted your first trip, I will create a shared file that you can edit in future. Simply copy and paste your trips from the journey log into this file for future submissions. So that's available on the website under journey log upload. I'll put the link in the description below. And for those who missed the video on how to do the submission, I will link that also in the description below. So let's have a look at the numbers. So as I said, in March we received 261 trips, real world trips, and we are now looking at over 2,000 real world trips altogether in the database. Here are the top contributors for March, and here you will see how many trips they've submitted, what distance they've recorded, average speed, etc. with all the numbers. If you want to get yourself into the top list there, simply submit more trips, and using the journey log submission process makes this even easier. So let's have a look at the range, and in particular the miles or kilometers per kilowatt hour recorded in March. So as you'll see from the list here, January was our lowest point at 2.86 miles per kilowatt hour, or 4.61 kilometers per kilowatt hour. In February it's gone up slightly, and in March again it's gone up to over 3, so we now got 3.15 miles per kilowatt hour and 5.07 kilometers per kilowatt hour. On the right hand side you can see the average across all the trips in the system, which is currently 1,841 for the long range dual motor version. These numbers along the bottom give you the average per month based on all entries in the system, and the small number at the bottom of the blue box is how many trips are in that month, making up that average. Moving on to the long range single motor, here we can see again the efficiency is improving. So in January we were down at 3.0, or actually just below 2.96 miles per kilowatt hour and 4.76 kilometers per kilowatt hour. That went up to 3.03 miles per kilowatt hour in February, or 4.91 kilometers per kilowatt hour in February. And then in March we can see it's jumped slightly to 3.28 miles per kilowatt hour, or 5.27 kilometers per kilowatt hour. Again, on the right hand side is the average across all trips, and for the long range single motor we now have 156 trips in the database, covering over 11,000 miles and almost 20,000 kilometers. Moving on to the standard range single motor, here we don't have much data, we only have 8 trips overall, and in March there were 3 recorded trips. In February there was 1 recorded trip, which came out at 3.45 miles per kilowatt hour, or 5.56 kilometers per kilowatt hour. And in March there's 3 trips submitted, and it's actually gone down slightly, 3.32 miles per kilowatt hour and 5.35 kilometers per kilowatt hour. Here we see the real world range for all three versions of the car. So on the left hand side we have the standard range single motor, currently sitting at 237 miles range in March 2022, compared to the long range single motor, which sits at 246 miles or 395 kilometers. And we can compare that to the long range dual motor, which was 236 miles in March, compared to which is equivalent of 380 kilometers. When you compare the long range single motor and the long range dual motor, you'll see there's a 10-mile difference between the two for the same month. Likewise in kilometers, it's a 15-kilometer difference. Here we see the real world range as a line chart across all the months, and this is just showing you that in January we were down at 215 for the long range dual motor, and in March it's gone up to 236 as an average range. This is my favorite comparison slide. Here you can see each of the models and all the numbers associated with it. So here we have total distance covered in miles and kilometers, we have the range in miles kilometers, we have kilowatt hours per 100 miles, as well as the miles per kilowatt hour. So if you wanted to compare models, here we see 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour average on the long range dual motor across 2005 trips logged in the system, compared to 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour for the long range single motor. That's across 156 trips, and that's compared to 3.3 for the standard range single motor. However, that's only of 8 trips in the database. So if you have the standard range single motor, please submit some data so that we can get these numbers to be more accurate in the future. Quick look at software versions. So on this page you'll see the blue highlighted area is those trips that have been submitted in miles. The peach colored area is those trips submitted in kilometers, and then the green area is the combined miles and kilometers reported in miles. So if we have a look in March, in the green section we can see that those on version P 1.8 were scoring 3.0 miles, 3.03 miles per kilowatt hour, whilst those on version P 1.9 were scoring 3.21 miles per kilowatt hour. If we go back to March last year, we can see that most of the submissions were either not listing the software version or on an older version before we got the P1 numbers. And you can see last March the average was 3.1, so not much difference between the two, but within the same month you can see a slight difference between P1.8 and P1.9. I know P2.0 is now rolling out, so it will be interesting in the future months to see which whether that brings any significant improvements in the efficiency of the car. For those of you interested in how the one pedal drive settings affects your efficiency, here we can see the results based on 1,867 entries, which covers in total over 122,000 miles. And if you have a look in March, in the green section at the bottom, you can see those driving with one pedal driving off scored 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour, whilst those with one pedal driving on standard setting scored 3.1, and those with one pedal driving in the low setting scored 2.9. So there's not much difference between these three. And the bottom right hand corner here, you can see the averages across all entries in the database, not just one single month. And there you can see one pedal driving off is 3.21 with 711 trips, and those with it on standard is 3.19 with 979 trips. So overall, not much difference there. Don't forget, at the end of the report we have a page for each country that has submitted data, so that you can compare your data to the local numbers, and you just browse down to the bottom and you will see all the countries listed there with the different models that have been submitted with data. So that's the short summary for March. Don't forget, these numbers will be available on the polestardriver.com website, and if you simply go on the menu to reports, you will see the latest report will be updated here, and you can go through and browse the different pages of the reports, which now contains 46 separate pages. Thank you very much for joining me today. Don't forget to send us your comments below. If you have any questions or comments about the numbers, or how to make the car more efficient, drive more efficiently, etc., then leave them in the comments below and we can share them with the community here. Don't forget to click on the like button if you enjoy these videos, to help us get these made available to more Polestar 2 interested viewers. And also don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, click on that subscribe button and also the notification bell, so that you'll be notified of future reports when they are available. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again next month.